So, welcome to our master class. As you know, every 2 weeks we have a master class from some of our community members, and today is very special because we have, I think, three people. We have Ben, Priya, and Francis with us, and they will be sharing something that is very exciting. Actually, in some sense, came out of activities of the AI working group, which some of you might know about. And so we are very happy to present them and kind of, I mean, I don't know, Ben, but maybe a year ago, this maybe didn't even exist, or maybe it was just an idea, and now it's a very exciting kind of software and a lot of exciting ideas around that. So I think it's quite an achievement, even to get to this point. And Ben actually, I think about a month ago on our mastermind, was showing us what the software can do, and we were all very impressed. And I was like, we have to run a masterclass to show everybody what you guys have built. So very excited about that today. Just in terms of logistics, if you can keep your camera on, so Ben, Priya, and Francis don't feel like they're speaking to a black hole. That's always nice. And then if you can put your microphone off, if we're not recording, we should be recording, and we will record this. But the recording will be with the other master classes in our Learning Hub, learn@openexo.com. You can always find it there. And we're going to have I think about 45 minutes of activity from Ben, Priya, and Francis, and then a bit of a Q&A at the end for you to ask your own questions. If you have any questions throughout, you can now we're starting. You can always put the questions in the chat, but we'll have some time to kind of answer them at the end, but feel free to put them throughout. So I think without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Ben, Priya, and Francis and take it from here, and we are looking forward to it. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Yaroslav. Much appreciated. Hello, everyone. Lots of familiar faces, a few new ones for me. My name is Francis Dion. I'm CEO and one of the co-founders of STS, Strategic Thinking Systems. I'll just give a little bit of a history about STS, not too much, just to give you some context, and then I'll kick it off, and Ben and Priya will be leading the two main segments of our presentation today. So the first idea for STS came about 4 years ago when I had the feeling that we were close to having competent AI come into our lives. And I figured that at that point, we would need a powerful interface to work with a powerful AI. And so the first version of that interface was built in 2020, and then I set it aside. And maybe some of you have seen the press release in 2022. They called it Chat GPT, right? So, so obviously this was what I was hoping and waiting for. And but then I had this prototype, but I did not have a team. And to me, meeting Ben and being introduced to the EXO community, especially the AI working group, has been a really, really powerful opportunity. I'm very grateful to Ben, and like a lot of the people, even in the masterclass today, I've participated in many discussions about and around STS. We've had quite some fun with a few hackathons also with many of you. I think I saw Jason that was master of recording during those hackathons and things like that. So much appreciated. And really the result of all of that input from the community is a part of what you're going to see today. However, I want to just emphasize that this is not, although we will be using STS throughout the demonstration, this is not about STS. It's more about how you can use AI. So a lot of what you're going to see, you can actually do with like native ChatGPT. It would just be a little bit more cumbersome, convoluted, a lot of copying and pasting around different prompts. You'll see that what Priya and Ben has prepared will give you a very nice flow and show you the importance of focus, both for the human interacting with the AI, but also for the AI. And this is kind of the main theme of our presentation today, is that if you properly focus the AI at various steps of whatever process that you're going through, you are going to get much better results. And this is what we are going to emphasize today. So as Yaroslav mentioned, you can ask questions in the chat, and I'll be monitoring them and inviting you potentially to speak them out as we proceed. Ben and Priya have confirmed that they like being interrupted. So if you have anything that something that's not clear, something that you want to contribute, without being too disruptive to the flow, I think we will welcome those interventions. Priya, do you want to kick it off?
Okay, thanks, Francis. Yes, and I do like interruptions. I prefer a dialogue, a one-to-one over a presentation. So if I go off on a tirade, someone can feel free, most likely Francis, to slow me down. So I'm going to share my screen and show you a little bit how to work with STS to set up your content. So what I have done here is I have created what we call a board that will help you think about your targeting and then take that information that you've learned from the AI and actually turn it into content. So I'll walk you through the board, a little bit of the setup, and then we'll create some content on the fly and show you how quickly it can be done with your specific context. So on the left-hand side, you'll see here, I've highlighted it with blue. This is where I set up the targeting. I've given the AI some context around who we are as a company. I'll go into more detail with that. I've set up some target markets that I'd like to ask the AI about. And so that's where we'll have the targeting, and that's going to be sort of like the AI's memory for the future. And then to the right-hand side, I've set up a layout for content. So I've given it some social media requirements, and then we'll generate topics, posts. And if we have time, I'll go into video scripts, but I'll let Francis let me know if we have time or not. And so I will get into this space. So what we've done here is I've added context in advance. So we've made up an imaginary company here called Nexus Strategies. It's a small consulting term, a tight-knit team. We have one consultant, one analyst, 2 support staff. We work directly with clients to solve problems. We operate out of a small remote office, and we use digital tools and communication for project management. So this is where you would put your own company context, add as much information as you like. For purposes of this demo, we wanted to think about sort of a small startup consulting firm. Maybe many of you will relate to that. So then the next thing that I did was ask the AI for some information. So I gave it some context. I gave it the context of who we are and said, given this information, what are the advantages? So given the context of who we are, which I gave it by checking on this box, what are the advantages and disadvantages of working with small, medium businesses? So it gave me a long list. And if you were to do this on your own, you'd look through this list and sort of think about what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, keep what you like, delete what you dislike. I did exactly the same thing for the enterprise target market. But now I'm going to ask the AI, who should I work with given all this information? So the AI will actually take the context of the enterprise target market, the SMB, and what it knows about us as a small consulting firm and help us make a decision. So to do that, I'm going to put the enterprise target market in here. I'm going to enter the SMB target market and who we are. So now the AI has all the context and the background, and I'm going to just use a generic AI here by clicking on none. So that I can see generic AI there. And then I'm just going to give it a bit of a prompt and ask it. Actually, I don't want to use the generic AI. I want to use a competent assistant because it's going to give me a shorter response for purposes of this. It'll be easier to process. So I'm going to enter my prompt, and I'm struggling with Zoom, so just bear with me here. And I'm going to run it. And now it's saying, considering you have a small team with some specialized expertise, working with SMBs might be more advantageous. It provides a little bit more detail, but essentially it's telling me to work with SMBs. I've thought it through. I've got some information. It's given us a little bit of rationale. you value close personalized service and your team can make a significant impact in this space. And you may have some resource constraints and financial instability risks to consider. So it's giving us rationale as to why we would work with an SMB as well. So I've made a decision now. We want to work with SMBs. So I'm going to remove the enterprise target market now. I don't need that as context anymore. We've decided to work with SMBs and we want to still give the AI context around who we are. So I'm going to click done. And now we're going to move into content generation. So that took, I don't know, about 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And I've pre-populated my social media requirements. We're a small consulting firm. We want to use LinkedIn. This is where our businesses will be found. We want some hashtags. We want some image prompts. So I'm going to set up my AI to take these social media requirements as part of the context. So I'm going to click on social media requirements here. So again, now we've got SMB social media requirements and who we are as the context. And now we've got to do some idea generation. We've got to do some post creation. So I want to work with a creative consultant because we've got to get creative here. So click on that. We've selected the creative consultant. And now I just want some help suggesting some topics. So I'm going to just say, suggest some topics.
Question for you.
Sure.
So you're prompt engineering, but when you call the creative consultant versus the other AI, what's really happening? Do you have an engine behind there saying, give me responses? Is it another prompt to the AI of how to respond? Is that what that is?
Yeah, so
Yes.
I can take that one, Priya. So basically, what we're trying to do with STS is to make it so that you don't need to learn prompt engineering, but there are quite a bit of a few tricks that we've all learned through experimentation that will give you better answers from the AI. And so when Priya selects a personality, each of these personalities have that kind of meta prompting beneath them that, would either like emphasize shorter answer. Some of them will ask like probing question at the end of their answers, things like that. And they will each have a different personality, like creative or more focused on finance or sales or whatnot. So there's a little bit of meta prompting that goes behind that.
But you're not calling a different model. You're not saying.
No, not at this point. We could at some point.
You could.
Yeah.
Right.
So like for example, I've heard that Claude has a pretty good LLM for content creation. So when you ask for let's say when you pick the creative assistant, maybe we would go to Claude instead of ChatGPT in the future. So this is the kind of things we could do.
All right, this is awesome. I've seen similar attempts.
Yeah.
This is very clean.
Thank you.
And Barry, you have your hand raised. Or not? Nope.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I just was curious. This looks great, but I can tell you I've got the attention span of a flea. Is there going to be a recording of this? Or I noticed some people have their Fathom note takers up. Just was hoping that I would have something to review later.
Hey Barry, this is all recorded and it's going to be inside learn.openexo.com. There is a course called Masterclasses. It has all of the past masterclasses and this one will be up in about 24 hours. So everything will be recorded there.
Thank you.
And Michael, looks like you've got your hand raised there too.
Yes, I have a question. Is this done in React? Is that cool?
The interface, yes.
And can I ask you a question about like how do you? I'm building one and I'm trying to understand the mechanics of how it works. So how much do you put like in a .env file? I'm sure the API keys would go there, but how much of the secret sauce do you put into a .env file, or does it go into the regular?
None of the secret sauce goes into the env file. If I may suggest, maybe ping me after the masterclass, and we can have a one-on-one conversation about that.
Very good. Thank you very much, Francis.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. So so we're working with AI, so it gives us interesting responses. So I just said suggest some topics, and these are actually really good ideas. They're not really topic ideas, but I happen to know, having attended a LinkedIn training, that these are the top performing styles of posts that work on LinkedIn. So case study carousel, it's also suggested sort of doing a video series, and there was something else in here that I might have missed, interactive polls and insights. So I'm going to see what we get. I'm going to work with this case study carousel, doing a little live risk taking, and to see what it will produce. It's also given me ideas it's given me the hashtags, it's given me image prompts, and I'm going to see what it does with this case study carousel. Given we don't have actual case studies, it's likely going to hallucinate, but you'll get the idea.
That's a very important aspect, though. I like to think that one of the things, as I said in a previous panel I was on, is that the AI is 80% correct or relevant, which makes it a great assistant, because who would not want an assistant that gives you 4 great ideas every 5 things that they say? But for a decision maker to be wrong 20% of the time, that would be a catastrophe within a week, right? So.
Yeah. So I'm going to cut and paste here. This is the thing of doing it live. And then the next thing I'm going to do is ask for posts based on this content. So I am going to give it topics, and I'm going to tell it to generate a post based on topics. And topics is the heading here for this list, and that's why I've said topics, and my English is poor. It'll give the AI a little bit more context of what to look at. So let's see what we get. Francis, approved?
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed here, but really the title of the list is topics. And so in the question, Priya is specifically referring to this content. So the AI knows about the Nexus company and the small business market that we're targeting, but in the question, if you want, in the prompt, we are specifically referring the topic, so that puts it in front and center in the attention span of the AI.
Okay.
AI, just like us, it needs guidance to keep focused.
I always say AI is like the young assistant that really needs support and help and clarity. And the less clear we are, the more likely they are to make a mistake. Okay, so it's written this post, who we are. It's got this, we're operating from our cozy little office, why to work with us, and some visible results flexibility. It's written a few things here that would be relevant to this case study. And as expected, it's done a little bit of hallucination because we didn't have content around that topic, around case studies. But then if I wanted to, I can put this directly to LinkedIn. So I can click on these cards and I can move them over. I can select some cards if I wanted to, but for purposes of time in doing this, I'm just going to select all the cards. So I click here, I select all the cards that were produced, and then I go to selected cards here. I'm going to copy this to my clipboard, and I'm going to flip right to LinkedIn. And I'm going to create, this is going to be a lengthy post, so I'm going to create post. I'm going to publish an article. And I'm going to click here. There's my whole article. I've got it on LinkedIn. We've got the hashtags there. We've got an idea for an image prompt, so I could use this if I wanted to. Copy it, pop it in here, create a design. Go into Microsoft Designer. I know, Francis, you weren't expecting this, but
No, I was not. Like, what is that?
yeah. So you
Cool
can go
new
in,
AI thing I did not know about.
yeah. So I can just go, oh, it didn't copy. There we go. So it's copied there, and I can tell it to generate an image that's relevant to the content that I copied. I don't know if I copied the right content, but you get the idea.
And
And
one thing I want to maybe emphasize is that for the interest of the masterclass, of course, we are zooming through this, literally zooming through this pretty quickly. But in reality, what you would want is, when the topics weren't that great, you would have spent some time to either wordsmith them or modify them, make them to your liking, remove what you don't like, add what you would prefer to see, and then so that really becomes a collaborative work between you and the AI, not just take whatever the AI throws at you and publish it, hoping that it will stick.
yeah, literally the design of STS is to have that engagement between humans and our discernment and say, I like this, I don't like this. But it would take much too long for me to read through this and go through that. And then, so let's just say, I wanted to write a video, create a video script. I could do this. I'm going to grab this content here. How are we doing for time? Should I do this video thing?
Yeah, you have another 2 minutes, and then
Okay.
I'll start to frown a little bit.
Okay. So I'm just going to take posts here. I'm going to remove topics because I don't want that anymore. I just want to create a video script based on who Nexus Strategies is. So I, again, use posts as the input.
You
And
didn't click video scripts, Priya, FYI.
sorry?
No, she did not need to,
You didn't
because
click video scripts.
she did not need to, because video script is where the content will go afterwards. So
Yeah.
so really, and the pop-up is the input. What do we supply to the AI? And then whatever, if we like what we see, then we'll put that into video script.
But I'll show you something fancy since you brought it up. So I made posts the input. I can actually select video scripts as the space for the output. So right when I run it, it will go to video scripts. I just want to double check it's there. There, it's video script.
Yeah.
So I'm going to click done and hit return, and you'll notice this will populate. Thank you.
Where are you guys in deploying this platform in terms of real life experience, industries, functions?
We are at the very beginning. We're at a stage where we use it all the time ourselves. We now have 3 paying customers, and we have a couple of nice enterprise level deployments that we're looking to close.
And it's
in
a
the near
SaaS
future.
model. There's no professional services to integrate it to their internal data or anything like that.
It depends on what they want. So if you can use this without any professional services, except maybe a little bit of onboarding and at the beginning. But if you wanted to have that in a completely sandbox environment where none of the data, goes through the net or things like that, then that would require a bit more services around that. So.
Cool. So we have a video script.
Yeah, video script. And then a fancy feature, I'll show you one little thing. I can add a list to the right. And as I work with my post and look at the engagement, I could start saving all my top performing posts here. Top posts. And I could tell the AI to take my top posts into consideration, like that box. And then as I come back to this space and regenerate more content, it's going to know what my top performing posts were. And it's going to take that into context and produce content aligned with that.
With your voice, with the type of topics, the formulaic expressions that you use, things like that.
Yeah.
Right. Great. Thank you, Priya. Anyone has a questions before we switch to the second part of the segment? Second segment of the masterclass. Ben, up to you.
Thanks, Francis. Thank you, everyone. Francis, I'd like if we could just zoom out a little bit. So we had a request in chat to zoom out a bit to give a little bit more context about the platform for people that are like brand new. So a little bit more higher level in terms of like, you know, where the platform, obviously where it came from, you gave a little bit more. But in terms of what problems are we trying to solve? Yaroslav, was there something else that you think would be useful at this point?
No, I mean, you know, it's I have seen it demoed 2 times, and then, like, you jump in and you start typing, and there are cards, but maybe like to zoom out a little bit, like why are they cards, and why you're organizing things in this way, and how it's meant to function, how is it different from, you know, just a ChatGPT interface. Like, I can guess my answers, but I think that would help because I feel like the initial reason from Francis was very clear, and then you get right into the detail of it, but maybe like that bridge between those two things would be helpful, at least for me.
Sure.
You to share, Francis?
No, I don't think I need to share for that share screen. So essentially, when as I said at the beginning, everything that we're doing, you could do with ChatGPT or Claude or any other AI provider out there. You would need to do a lot of manipulating, like copying text here and then, creating a new chat, recreating your context for every single step of the process. So what we're doing is we're building that interface where, for example, my company profile is something I do once, and then I can always refer to it. I don't need to repeat that. But if you work a bit with ChatGPT and the likes, what you've noticed probably like us is that it's very linear, very unidimensional process where you ask your questions, you get an answer. You ask questions, you get very, very linear. And then the longer the chat, the more confused the AI becomes, because, you know, sometimes you ask a question and its answer is a bit off, you know, the off topic, but then that wrong answer keeps polluting the rest of your interaction. So at some point you end up having to basically start over, giving your context again and start a process over. With STS, we made it very easy. First, every paragraph is a card. Why? Because what we want users, and what we wanted for us when we build that, is to work on ideas. It's not about a long, like question and answer list of question and answer. Every component is an idea that I can like or dislike. I can delete, I can modify, I can add my own. And so really that ability for the AI and the human to work together on, for us, really those ideas, it's the materials, as the input, it's what we work with as the ingredients of the decisions or whatever it is, the project that we're working on. So really, we want this almost tactile interaction between you and the ideas that are being presented there. And what else can I say? It's also, the interface also allows for collaboration. So right now it's only Ben or only Priya interacting with the tool, but you could have 5 or 10 of your colleagues on the same interface, each creating ideas on top of the AI. We had some meetings where we had 5 or 6 of us like brainstorming and the AI brainstorming at the same time. And then in the end, we end up with a list of 50 great ideas, and then we ask the AI that's right there with us to summarize that and then to create bullet points for a slide. So all of this interactivity, this collaboration is really the key to what we're trying to accomplish here. Really making we use the word AI colleagues for a reason. It's because really that's how we want to the experience with STS to feel like, is that you have someone that's working with you, more than a co-pilot, really like someone that is interacting with you, understanding that you can focus again on different areas. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yeah, it does. And the cards are variable, like, or are they preset? They are variable, like I can set whatever cards I want, or are they always preset?
You can type your own. A card could be like an entire document, like 3-page long, whatnot. Really, for us, the cards are the building blocks of whatever it is that the strategy that you want to implement, the decision you need to make, the content you want to create.
And the cards can be populated either by me or by the AIs, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe just a final question, if I'm getting this right. So let's say I have like a high level task. Let's say I want to launch an online course.
Yep.
Like launching an online course is a big project, and it has multiple sub projects, right? Like I need to create the idea for it. I need to create marketing materials. I need to create a sales page. I need to create a campaign, email sequence, all that kind of stuff. So basically, like if I have this bigger goal, I can break it down into those smaller things. Like
Yeah.
what are all the things I need to build? And each one of those smaller things will be a card. And then I can basically ask the AI to populate the cards, and then I can start editing, and I can almost say like, okay, this card is already good. I have the idea for the course. I can take from the 3 ideas that the AI had, I can take one, I can fix it. I can say
Exactly.
now this becomes an input for the rest. So now based on the course idea, give me a marketing sales page, right, or something like that. And again, and so over time I can basically build up all the different pieces, and then next time I'm doing an online course, I already have the whole workflow built, right? Like I have built a workflow that I want to launch, and I guess over time you can create templates for the most common projects people might want to launch, pre-populated, and they can kind of like, am I getting it right?
Yeah, you're perfectly right. So we have templates for meetings. We have templates for scenario planning between kind of like we had SMB and enterprise, where these were really 2 scenarios, and help me choose between the 2, summarizing, even translations. Really, that's you got it perfectly right.
And just adding to that, STS is set up with folders, so projects and teams, so you can have 3 people a part of a team who have access, or another team with 7 people who have access. You can have a personal team, and then you can create folders with multiple boards within those folders. So if you had this, you wanted to build a course with a whole marketing campaign, you could have it contained within one space and not have it mixed up with the rest of your
With the
information.
other courses.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But I'd like to give Ben's time to do his content, which I think is also really good. So.
And actually, I think it will start to answer some of these questions too, or give other examples as to what Francis was just describing. So this is another board, or as was just mentioned, you could think of this as a template as well. So in this particular template, we created to kind of solve problems around running meetings. And so I'll explain that. So this one is to help run powerful client meetings, and the description underneath that says, it's a board to collaborate with your team, to Francis's point earlier, leverage AI, prep and run client meetings, and then even create reports post-call. So we're doing all the work prior to having a meeting. It could be a first time that you're meeting with somebody, could be a follow-up where you need to do some research and get back to them. Maybe you're going to create a proposal or something, and then go through the actual meeting itself, and then create a report. So what I've done is with this one is I've given, like Priya did, I created the context. We use the same example of the kind of the imaginary consulting company called Nexus. And then from there, I have the client information that I'm going to provide. So this is the research I've done. This is also maybe with the assistance of AI on the company itself. Like I know that the client, in this case, Insight AI Solutions, mid-sized e-commerce company, and what their problem is. They're having a significant drop in repeat purchases over the last 6 months, and they're not sure as to why that's happening. So where are they located? What services, the background, and so on. So this is all the context that I need in order to run an effective client meeting before we get started. And then I need to do maybe a bit more. So if I want to prep for the client call, I'll start to engage with AI. And you'll notice that the AI here, Priya had one AI agent here on the left that she kept configuring. This is another way that you can construct the template. It's very versatile. In this case, I have an AI agent here, which I'll explain. And then we'll get into the client call itself. So I have an agenda. We'll talk about the problem statement, make sure that we understand it correctly with the client. We'll come out with some action items. We'll employ the AI agent here as well, and we'll create a report at the end. So this is like a template. You can add a lot more to this, but I wanted to keep this pretty straightforward for the benefit of this call. So with the context of us and the client, I'm going to ask the AI agent to maybe provide some potential hypothesis of what could be causing their issues, right? We have the context of the industry, where they're located, and so on. And I can configure this. What I've done is I'm going to include the client information only. And I'm going to use a basic, this is ChatGPT for Omni that I'm going to be using. And I'll go ahead and hit return and have it do the research. But I could have this do, like, if this was, say, a well-known entity like Procter & Gamble, I could have it do research on Procter & Gamble. Francis, would you gonna say something?
One of the things, like we discussed earlier during the class, the question of prompting. And notice here, the prompt is very simple. Like, what could be causing their issues? And the AI looks at the client info, and in the client info, you see that hypothesis that might explain the significant drop in repeat purchases. So the AI figured out, like, basically just described the situation of my client, and then the AI understands that because I provided a very crisp context. Then I can ask very natural question, like, what could be the cause of those issues? So you see, like, how we're making it much more organic and natural than having to go through some kind of artificial formulations so that the AI understand. The way that we are laying this out, we're make it more natural and easier for people.
Right. Thanks. So we got some interesting hypotheses here. I'm just scanning through here, and so what I could do. So these are potential hypotheses. Market for AI-driven analytics and decision-making has become saturated. Another one is that maybe it has to do with our customer experience and support. Maybe it's the value perception ROI is not clear. So these are all the things that we're actually hearing. So these are good. But what I could do is I could actually copy all these and maybe send them to the client, or maybe even bring it up on the meeting, depending on your relationship with them, to talk about. So this is some hypothesis that we have. And to your question earlier, maybe it's Huba or somebody else on the call, excuse me, is that I could go in here and actually, I can add my own, right? So I can add my own hypothesis to this. I can edit it. I can change anything that I want to here, because this is completely editable. So I can just type here and add to it. So Francis, so let's just have, if you don't mind, let's act like you're the client. Okay, and so now I have some hypotheses, I've sent them to you, but now that I'm in the call itself and I have my agenda, and by the way, like, we've all been in meetings that seem to have no focus or aren't going anywhere, or maybe the team isn't really prepared for the meeting like they should be, and we're not in a place where we actually can collaborate. And this is solving all of those problems. Right. So we're doing the work beforehand. We're making sure everybody's on the same page, and we're presenting this to the client. So the client even could be a part of this too, if you want. So with this, Francis, I'll go back to the hypothesis we have here. If you could put into your own words, what do you think the problem is? I'll capture that on the call, and we'll kind of create some action plans around that. Yeah,
sure. So again, keep in mind, this is a imaginary client of which I'm now speaking on behalf of. So sure, Ben. So I think what I'm hearing is that customers find it difficult to onboard into our platform. So I think that's really the issue. They don't know where to start. They don't know where to begin when they start using our solution.
Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to show you another trick, and this is something I do all the time. And I think this is a helpful tip for everyone. I notice I have Otter here. So I'm going to go, since I'm hosting this call right now, I can go in and say, you know what, I'm going to capture exactly what Francis said, my client. I'm going to copy it directly. So I'm going to capture that. I'm going to go here to the problem statement. I'm just going to drop it in here. So using our solution, make that slight edit, and I'm going to add it to, this is what we think is the problem statement that we're going to move forward with. Now, in the call, in the meeting itself, I can actually apply or start to bring in AI to help us. Like Francis mentioned, in the past, we could like summarize, we can analyze, we can do all the things. Like I can use AI to help me come up with other good questions to ask my client and prep and put that into the agenda as well. But in this case, I'm simply going to ask simply, what are the action items we should take based on this problem statement. So I've selected that list. I've included the client information, all that context I had before. And you may have wondered too, why did I have all that information about us? So us as the company, the service provider, I'm actually even going to include that within this prompt. So I'm going to hit done, and I'm going to hit return and see what are basically the action items that it's going to recommend that we take as a result of all this complexity and this analysis. So one of the other things that I started to see very quickly when I started using the tool is that it takes a lot of complexity and simplifies it and helps us make decisions to move forward. This is a big aha moment for us as a team when we were able to start using this in the context of a meeting. All right, so here's a few suggested action items. Optimizing customer onboarding, that's usually a problem.
And just Ben, if you allow me, what I said that you captured through the transcription tool is that customers find it difficult to onboard. And so the first thing that the AI suggested is that we work on customer onboarding optimization, right? So see, so to me, this is really like the magic of AI. When you provide it a proper context, it figures out things that are usually pretty helpful.
Yeah, thank you. It makes you look pretty smart, like you're paying attention to. It's really cool. So customer feedback collection, personalized training programs, customer support, etc. So all these look pretty good. So I'm going to delete this last question here, which I don't need. But I like the rest of these. And so now I'm going to, let's say that it's time, the meeting's done. We've convened as a team afterwards, and we're going to create an action plan for them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select all of these. This list is selected. I'm going to choose all of these here. I'm going to come here and I'm just going to copy the clipboard. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to come to the report here, excuse me, and I'm going to ask it to create a report based on these action items. Oh, this is my step. So I'm going to put the action items here. So now the actions items I've copied from here, I put here as the action items. These are the things that we're going to take, the actions that we're going to take, and I'm going to create a report out of that. Is that clear? Is that, I know I did that in reverse, but okay, I think we got it. All right, so now I'm going to ask it to draw from the action items, again, about who we are and also about the client itself, give the context. And I'm going to ask it to create a one short paragraph executive summary based on the client summary that we've given and the action items. That's all we're doing. Okay, so now I have this, the executive summary. I'm going to delete this one we don't need, but I'm going to select these, and I'm going to select our action items, and I'm going to copy these to the clipboard, and this is the last step. So now I'm going to leave. Let's imagine that we've had a good client call. We've got clarity in terms of where we're going, what we need to focus on with the client itself. We can get, basically their agreement on the call itself. And we have action items to take forward. And so after the call, all right, thank you. This is a great productive meeting. I'll send you a report afterwards as to what our next steps are, or maybe what our proposals are. And so I'm going to use another tool outside of this. Gamma is one I think a lot of us are familiar with. I'm just going to create a new presentation by pasting in what I just copied from STS, and I'll just make a document out of it. I'll hit continue. So that looks good. It just, as a default, 8 cards. I'm just going to run with it and see how it does. So I'm going to click you can pick a theme. This is a really nice platform to create quick presentations, quick reports based on your work in a way that you can present to your client. And here it's adding a little bit of its own flavor, which you can then edit, but it's taking all the work that we did, all the context, everything we need in order to make a good recommendation. And now we're making it look super sharp and polished so we can present it to the client. Is that any questions to this use case within STS?
Just to recap, like we started with description of our consultancy, a description of our client and its problem statement. And then based on that, we got some action items, suggestions by the AI, which we could have modified, added to, deleted some, and then turned that into an executive summary and a very nice presentation. We went to Gamma. At some point, we want to be able to generate these documents straight from STS, but STS is never gonna you'll have the level of sophistication that you have in Gamma here. So for us, it's not about competing like one tool versus another. It's whatever works best for the task at hand. And in terms of working with ideas as the clay that you want to use to feed into Gamma, then I think this is this works pretty nicely.
Priya,
You're muted.
Thank you. I was going to say a little, and maybe Ben, you can demo this little component, which I love STS for this too. If you are doing a research project, you can put content into STS, have the AI summarize it, put it in a space, and then you can add links to research articles into STS or whatever websites, whatever you want, and you can reference that information and have it on hand in one place as well. And I love that functionality. So I don't know, Ben, if you want to demo what that looks like. Since it's on, should I do it or?
Well, let's see if we have questions first. I mean, we're getting close to the top of the class here.
I think there was a
time.
great question from Lars. It's not specifically to the use case, but it's kind of a broader. But let me read it out. What user background, prompting experience, and other AI literacy level, etc., do you recommend for clients to avoid the steep learning curve cases you describe? In other words, when the user is not from your own team, what kind of user is STS for, ideally?
Oh, that's a good and a tough question at the same time. So what we're
Maybe
aiming
you can use
is
STS to answer that.
yes, indeed.
Try it.
I'm sure that's what Ben is doing right now. But the short answer is that neither the AI nor STS can think for you. So one way to describe the good potential user of STS is someone who can is probably able to hold two ideas in their head without having a nosebleed, right? So obviously you need to be able and willing to think things through and to look at two sides of a situation. Think about what is the focus of the question I'm asking. Am I able to ask like clear, crisp questions, right? So that's one of the aspects. But really, we've had many debates internally, but the one I prefer like in terms of the label of STS users would be a power thinker. But really, hopefully we get to a point where you need very little training and you just interact with a competent colleague that helps you through as you are going through the steps of either creating content or ending a meeting and things like that.
And obviously, this is still quite an early build. So I think another thing that, for you guys, just, from Lars's question, maybe that is something about how you introduce it, how you onboard, how you explain to people that might still be helpful to work on, for a more general user, not like a power thinker, but you got to start somewhere. So Huba, did you have a question?
I just want to say, I'm sorry that, if all you need to do is ask a question and get an answer, go to ChatGPT, right? You don't need STS if what you have, if your need is straightforward like that. It's just.
And I think
my question is about interacting with files. So how, what's the plan there and what's the current capability of, for example, utilizing input from a spreadsheet or something like that?
That's a great question. And this is right now what you can do is you can basically copy paste content into a card. It's not optimal, but it does work, and we've done it. And actually, Katrina, who's an active member of OpenExO, has written for us the module for for reading PDFs, and it's just a matter of integrating that into the platform. So it's something that's coming probably this month, if not next. So it's really high on our roadmap right now. Just things to make, save you time, makes it easier, and then being able to, load a great number of documents. In my experience, more content does not always lead to better insight from the AI,
Right.
but having access to it, like to do proper RAG and things like that, that will be very important. So.
Right. So the question about, because I use some of these tools for research purposes, and one of the challenges that I face is that sometimes I need to manipulate tables where one item is associated with a specific item, and I need that link to persist, right? And sometimes when you cut it and paste it, that relationship gets lost. So
Yeah, I understand.
yeah,
Barry, you have a
that would be
question.
awesome.
Yeah.
I would say more awesome.
First of all, bravo. This was awesome. I really love this. I found that with ChatGPT, now that it allows you, it has memory over the different threads, that it's become better. But to your point, Francis, it's not perfect. In fact, it can go off in a weird direction. I'm just curious. It seems to me like this is going to be really helpful for somebody like me who is interviewing, a potential client and trying to win them over. Is the goal to do this like in front of the client so they can see your magic and then hopefully teach them how to integrate this within their own teams?
Sorry. Yes. And the segment that Ben did, we tried to convey that a little bit. So you can use the tool to do your research, to do your research before the call. Then during the call, you can use AI for transcript, for summarizing, for next steps, things like that. And then after the call, you can use AI to produce very nice reports and things like that. So this is really, that's what we meant by supercharging your consultancy, is really helping you from, finding your ideal customer, engaging with them through social media, and then having fantastic interactions with them before, during, and after meeting.
And if it's not obvious, it may not be obvious, it's obvious to us, but you can configure these boards in whatever way works for you. So we've laid these out so to give you a bit of a thought process that you could follow. But if you said, okay, I want to do my prep and have that available to me on a hidden screen, and I have my team meeting and I'm going to produce my report after the fact, you can completely have those on separate boards and have that information available to you as you need it. So we've only presented one or two layouts in this scenario, but there's millions.
And also to your point, Barry, is that what we find most powerful is when we as a team interact with the board. And so having the customer join you and you'll play with ask it its own questions and add its own cards and modify the answers. I think all of that is very powerful also.
Mm-hmm. And I think somebody was asking as well about the capability of the user. So if you're working with a customer or a client, most people will only need to enter in content. So be able to type where it says create a new card here and type text. If you were facilitating a meeting, most people in that meeting would only need to create cards and type text. And you as a facilitator would be selecting lists and moving things around and doing all the fancy things. But the people you're engaging with would just really need very, very basic knowledge.
I decided to share this last one here really quickly because this is something we all can relate to. Like I've created the steps in creating an ExO, and I've pre-populated and asked some questions. But if Procter & Gamble was, say, our client, we can work on this collaboratively, like around the current state, or we do it independently. We're researching the trends. This is taken from from the version 2.0, and also just talking to folks around creating exponential organizations, and I built it into this basically a template. So all of you guys that are consultants on this call can put in whatever your framework is into a flow like similar to this, that you can either work independently or with your clients and bring in AI to help wherever needed.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me, I might be wrong on this, but it seems to me like one use case is obviously I am a consultant and I use this to better serve my clients, right? And that itself, I don't need to change my business model. Like I'm still selling my consulting services, and I'm using that like as much more sophisticated version. I might have done ChatGPT, but this is much more complex, sophisticated, etc. So I can using that. Now, I think the question I think Barry is asking, if I'm getting it correctly, is like, can I have my client also use it, not only inputting information, but but that I think would involve changing the business model of how I consult, right? Because in some sense, so I think that is, this use case might, I think, evolve a little bit later on. I think the most obvious use case is it can help you to be a better consultant and to structure your projects, better entrepreneur, etc. I think that's the primary use case. This other use case, I think it's definitely like I have some thoughts about it, but I think is maybe more complex than that. I also like, for whatever it's worth, I was just kind of like thinking about this. I think there is something about, like when you go to Chat, like let's say I have a kind of a simple question, then obviously I go to ChatGPT. But even if I have a project, like let's say I want to launch a marketing campaign, again, it's like a bigger project. I can go to ChatGPT. I can say, okay, tell me what are the steps, and I can zoom in, etc., etc. But what I think is powerful about this is that it makes some things that are implicit, like kind of invisible in ChatGPT's case, and it's linear, as you said, Francis. It makes them actually visible, and so I can actually see the thought process. Like I
Yeah.
can see the entire thought process, and then I can start to tweak it. So, and that I think is quite hard to do, in ChatGPT, because then you need to say like, go back, 3 questions ago and change this assumption. Like it will be very clunky, but I think in your case it's much more
Yeah.
easier. So I can like put the whole thought process, and then I can start changing the things, and I can see like what that does. So I think it's a much more flexible tool. I think what would be very powerful for me as a user is if you come in and it asks you just one question, like, what do you want to do today, right? And I would say, oh, I want to launch a marketing campaign. And then it would say, okay, thank you. And it would just give me pre-populated cards of all the steps I would need to do to launch a marketing campaign. Like it would pre-populate the cards for me,
Yep.
right? And then I can start playing with them, changing them, etc. Like that's something that I would like as an onboarding experience as a new user to something like this. So maybe a thought.
It's a great idea, and this is kind of like the direction we're going to, and listening to feedbacks like the folks in this call, and the clients we interact with, and really what we want is for this tool to be useful, to be to serve you as best as possible. So really grateful for all the feedback.
That's awesome. Great. Any final comments or questions from the group?
Just thank you.
Yeah, I just I loved what I saw. It's it's certainly taking the use cases that you can apply it to makes things a lot easier. But because I've actually gone through pretty much the same path, but just using ChatGPT and Claude, and now projects in Claude, and then also using Make.com to actually do the process automation that you saw within the user interface. And I think that's probably some potential for downstream for the STS as well, is how do you actually interface to those other services so you can automate some of those processes, get away from the copy and paste and all that kind of stuff in the end processes. But yeah, very, very impressive. I certainly got excited looking at it, and then the only concern I would have is how do you protect yourself from the large the large language model vendors and them adding new features all the time.
The more feature they add, the more powerful STS becomes. So we're happy.
Yeah, but until they actually basically take what you take and put it into features. So it's and then which leads me to another idea. Another idea is you should be targeting them for eventual buying of you. Or partnering.
That thought has crossed our mind, but like we have many things that are on the works also underneath the surface that will not be just as easy for them to copy. So
yeah, I wouldn't let go of the idea for a long time yet.
yeah.
That is awesome. So thank you, Ben, Priya, and Francis. Just to close off, maybe Ben, you put it already in the chat. If people want to try it out, they want to work with it, maybe give you some additional feedback, what can they do?
So yeah, I did put the link just a little bit ago in the chat. So there's a place to sign up for free access right now, and we're also offering like free like one-on-ones with us so that we can help you get started. This is really a way to keep us in the community, keep it growing. I mean, really, Yaroslav, I approached you over a year ago with the idea of starting the AI working group, and I really attribute this to your openness and willingness to help us early on. And helping us launch the AI working group. Really feel so much gratitude for you and your support, and with everybody within the community. So I feel like we want to do as much as we can to give back. So thank you so much.
That's awesome. So if you're interested in this, click request your account and have a call with the team, and then give them some feedback. Help to make it better, and see where it takes you, and tell them what you need that you can use it for you. Benefit from it yourself, but I think it's going to also help to make it better for everybody. So thank you so much. Congratulations. I think this is amazing. It's a very creative way to kind of approach this, and I'm really excited to see where this goes next. So well done. Thank you everybody for coming. This recording will be on the Learning Hub, and I'll wish you a great rest of your week. Thank you.